Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we are reviewing the Baltany model S4105. This is their latest and greatest go anywhere, do anything style of watch. It has everything you would expect in a modern Baltany watch. So Seiko movement, sapphire crystal, really good sapphire crystal, solid case, solid bracelet. Yeah, it's just a very good go anywhere, do anything style of watch. However, the price has been creeping up on this watch. $277 US. I'm not really sure why it's been doing that. It's gone up since I've received the watch. Typically watches, they start out a little bit higher and then creep down a little bit. This one has gone up, and I want to say it's gone up like $40. So $277 US. That is a lot of money for an AliExpress watch. It's a lot of money for a AliExpress watch with a Seiko movement. And there's just some other options out there that, in my opinion, are better. But, you know, this one here, the Chronos L6037, it's, in my opinion, the king of the go anywhere, do anything style watch from AliExpress. Comes in two different sizes, comes in some fun dial colors in the smaller case size. Hopefully the bigger one will get some fun dials. The dial on this watch is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, the watch itself, $277. I got to see if this is actually worth it. So I say we flip the camera and get right into this review. All right, so let's get into dimensions. A case diameter of 38.9 millimeters, 12.6 millimeters thick, a standard 20 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip of 47.3 millimeters, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist. It weighs 140 grams. So I think the size on this is fine. I've got no issues with the size on it. It works good on my 7.5 inch wrist. Doesn't feel too small. Wears about right for a 39 millimeter watch. Pretty good lug to lug, standard lug width. It does have an oyster style of case, so it is kind of flat. There's a little bit of turn down there, but for the most part, it is pretty flat, but it's short enough where it sits on the top of my wrist pretty nicely. So yeah, I've got no real complaints with how it wears. It kind of wears just like you would expect it to wear. There's no real surprises there. So it does have a little bit of heft to it. I did notice that, and 140 grams for a non-dive watch in 39 millimeters is pretty heavy, I think. So I kind of expected this to be like 130, maybe 100, high 120s or something like that. So 140 grams, it feels like a nice solid piece. So if you kind of like some heft to it, you're going to like this one. So I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist. I think the size on this watch is just about perfect. I really do like these 39 by 47 style watches. A little bit flat on the case there, but it honestly fits my wrist pretty nicely. It's short enough. I think the bracelet drape looks pretty good there as well. All the brushing and polishing, it looks fantastic out here in the sun. And the crystal on this watch is just next level. So super happy with it, and you can really see the sunburst on the dial there. So really, really good looking. Let's go throw it on some straps and we'll get back to this review. And here we are on a cut to size FKM, just a smooth FKM. Links will be down below for these straps. They are awesome, and I think it actually looks really, really good on this watch. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to look, but yeah, it looks awesome. I've always been a big fan of tan and green. I think it always looks good, and this is no exception. This is a Vario strap, so it's a pretty expensive strap, but it just gives you an idea of what a tan strap will look like on this, and I think it does look really good. And lastly, here we are on a gray nylon strap. Pretty thin nylon strap. This is from Cincy Strap Co. They actually don't sell these straps anymore, so you're going to struggle to find them, but that gives you an idea of what it looks like with two layers underneath the watch. Still sitting very nice, and the green and the gray, I think looks good. What do you guys think? All right, let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about case finishing. So case finishing, very nicely done from Baltany. They always do a really good job. You can see here on the bezel, it is a fully polished bezel. Really nice, smooth polishing, no issues with that. We have a nice vertical brushing on the tops of the lugs here, and then those transition to nice polished sides there, kind of rounded off. It's not a straight side, as you can see there, so it is very reminiscent of an oyster style case. They use this same case on their 369 kind of Explorer style watch. So yeah, really no surprises here that this is done nicely. You can see nice sharp transitions between the brushing and the polishing there. We have a 6.3 millimeter signed screw down crown with the Baltany B there. Good grip on the crown, no issues with that. Everything appears to be done very nicely. This bottom edge here can be sharp on some watches, but it's not here. Nice and rounded off. We do have some sharp corners here, like the inside of the lugs. Those are a little bit sharp, and then these are a little bit sharp here, just the tips of the lugs themselves. Those are actually a little bit sharper than I would like. Flipping it over to the case back here, a screw down case back in this kind of Rolex style coin edge. This is a little bit sharp, kind of didn't expect that from Baltany. Usually they're pretty good with their case backs, but this one feels a little bit rough. I wish they would just use simple notches there. That would take care of pretty much all my issues with this case back. It's really not a big deal. It's pretty comfortable on wrist. It's just something that I noticed. No signage or anything like that, but nicely circular brushed. For the most part, the case is done nicely. You expect a Baltany watch to have a nice case finishing, and this is really no exception. A couple little sharp corners I'd like to see them knocked down, but other than that, not bad at all. All right, let's talk about the crystal. We'll test it for sapphire real quick. It is positive for sapphire. And as is typical with Baltany, you're getting a very, very nice crystal on this watch. It is a box dome style, so you can see here, kind of has some radius on the edge there, a little bit of distortion, but for the most part, really nice and clear at the extreme viewing angles. Clear inner reflective coating. I've heard some numbers thrown around that Baltany uses 6 to 7 layers of inner reflective coating. Something like a Watch Dives, which I'll have right here, uses like 3. So I'm hoping you guys can see it. I know, taking my word for it, you can just see how much dimmer the reflection is in the Baltany than it is in the Watch Dives. And, the Watch Dives, like I said, uses about 3 layers of air coating. Pretty good crystal on this one here. It's just excellent on the Baltany watch. And it's something that you really don't notice on camera too much, but when you have it in person, it does really a nice job of keeping the dial nice and legible and clear. It's an excellent crystal. So getting up really close to the dial, we've got a very nice sunburst effect on it, as you can see there. And then we have this really cool pattern. Very, very nicely done. I've got no real issues with it. I think it looks nice and high quality. It is a Fume dial, so it's kind of black on the edges, and then it has that nice bright green in the middle there. Baltany branding just below the 12 o'clock and automatic 200 meters there above the 6 o'clock position. Everything is done very nicely. Minute track printed around the outside. Applied markers at all the hour markers. This is a no date watch. It has a no date movement, so there's no ghost date position. The applied markers looking really good. Kind of thin sticks at all the hour markers except 12, 3, 6, and 9, where we have a little bit larger indices there. They are multifaceted, as you can kind of see here. The polishing on the edges catches the light nicely, and then the top surface is brushed. Getting up real close, you can kind of see it almost has like an iridescent effect to it. I hope you saw that in the macros. It is something you do notice on day-to-day wear. So overall, the brushing brings out the indices a little bit. The handset you can see here, those are also finished in a similar fashion. So they have a brushing right down the middle there, and then polishing on the facets. It all looks really good. The handset is a good size. They get a little bit lost on the dial from time to time, but for the most part, it is fully legible. And I think it looks really good. They did a nice job with it. The lume on the watch, it's BGW9, so it's bright white during the daytime, and it glows blue at night. So I'm going to pop it up against a couple other watches in the collection. And here you can see it does okay. The dial holds on a lot better than the hands do. The hands do fade eventually. I was not able to read this watch in the middle of the night, so a little bit disappointed in that, but the lume is actually pretty good. You should be able to read it for a couple hours or so, but I wouldn't trust this to be able to easily read it throughout the night. All right, so the movement powering the watch is the Seiko NH38 automatic movement. So it's a no-date version of the Seiko NH35. So 21,600 beats per hour, so 6 ticks of the second hand every second. It hacks, hand winds, it has a bi-directional winding rotor, so you don't get any of that rotor whirl. Really happy with these movements. The NH38, no ghost date position, so that's good. They are robust. They are reliable. They're fairly accurate. Here's how this one has been running. I'd like to see it run a little bit better than that. That's kind of on the high end for an NH35 based movement. So yeah, I'd like to see them regulate that down a little bit more, but it is running very strong. The movement is operated again by this signed screw down crown, 6.3 millimeters. Good grip on the crown, nice smooth screw in and screw out action. You get a decent little pop out from the NH38. First position is your hand winding here. Feels exactly like you would expect. And second position jumps right into time setting, so hacking the movement there. Everything here functions and works exactly like you would expect. I do feel like it's a little bit easier to turn this crown than normal, but other than that, it's completely fine and exactly what I expected. You push it in, starts up the movement every time. The crown threading, really nicely done. This is one where I feel like I have to back it up a little bit before it catches the threads, and then I can screw it down. You can see here I am struggling a little bit. There we go. And once it gets into the threads, it's one of those crowns which kind of disengages from the movement, so you're not winding the movement while you're threading it. So it is nice and smooth on the threading there. So overall, pretty happy with the setup on this watch. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet. So the bracelet is kind of our standard affair. We've seen this bracelet from Baltany and many other brands before. It's a good, I'm going to say it's a good oyster style of bracelet. So 3 solid links here. You can see screw pins for sizing. I removed, I believe, 1 link for my 7.5 inch wrist. It has female pivot end links. You can see the end links, they stop short of the lug tips there. So keeping the effective lug to lug right at the actual lug to lug. So that's nice to see. End link fitment, really, really tight in there. You can see there's absolutely no wobble at all. Nice high quality spring bars as well. Yeah, it's a very good setup. The tolerances are pretty tight on it, so there's not a whole lot of slop. There's not a whole lot of rattle to it. Fluidity is fine. It's not pulling hairs or anything like that. The bottom edge has been rounded off nicely, so it's one of the more comfortable 3-link style of bracelets that I've had. The clasp on the watch, again, always a little bit of a disappointment here. We have 4 levels of micro adjust, so you're going to be able to get a good fitment on this watch, but the clasp itself is just nothing fancy. You have Baltany there in the top brush surface. You got brushing on the sides, polished pushers, and a nice polished chamfer. So design-wise, I think it flows okay. The functionality is perfectly fine, fully milled on the inside and nice tight tolerances. So it does open and close with a nice satisfying click every single time. So, you know, as far as functionality goes and comfort goes, it's fine. There's really no sharp edges on it or anything like that. It just feels a little bit small for this watch head. I wish it was a little bit longer. And I think at this price point, we should be expecting an on-the-fly system. That's just my feelings on this. Again, the bracelet as a whole is actually pretty nice. The clasp itself is pretty nice. It just, for the price, I kind of expect more out of this clasp. I want something with on-the-fly. Yeah, that's really the only letdown of the bracelet, in my opinion. So there you go, guys. That is the Baltany model number S105. Their latest and greatest go anywhere, do anything style of watch. I think you're getting exactly what you expect from Baltany. Very nice, solid bracelet, really good crystal, decent lume, cool dial, nice case, and a little bit of a disappointing clasp. So for $277 US, I just don't see the value in this one. It's not super original. You know, the case itself is ripped straight off of, you know, an oyster style case, and the dial is nice and plain, and it does look really good. I'll give them that. The finishing is good, but when you're looking at other watches in the category, I'm going to come back to this one, the one that I've been wearing, the Chronos. This watch has a better movement. The crystal is just as nice. The bracelet is just as nice. It has on-the-fly adjustment. I think the finishing on the Chronos is nicer. The lume is better on the Chronos. The dial is nicer on the Chronos, in my opinion. So yeah, there's just not a whole lot to complain about when you're talking about this Chronos. I picked this up for 160. I think you can get them for right around 200 now. But yeah, it's just kind of a no-brainer, in my opinion. You just, unless there's something about this Baltany that you really, really love, and something about this Chronos that you really don't like, I don't see any reason to buy the Baltany over the Chronos. I think the dial is going to be the one thing that's kind of pulling the Baltany ahead here. You know, you got limited options with the Chronos and plenty of options with the Baltany, but yeah, if you're looking for the better value, it's here for sure. But you know, not saying the Baltany isn't a good watch, because it really is a good watch. But yeah, $277. The price on this watch has been creeping up, and you wanted to see it go down in price. So I'm not sure what's happening with it. I know the NH movements are, you know, demanding a little bit extra, and tariffs and all that fun stuff. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But yeah, I think $277 for this is just a little bit too much. That's just my own opinion. So yeah, I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.